And we're back.
Hello.
So, as the storm of battle comes to a close, those of you who are running from the battle back to the Nyxes sort of see the strew of destruction that is around you, and it takes a while, to get a stock of the battlefield. Sabriel sort of runs forwards, spots Tritherion and says, "Where is she?" And an exchanged look between the two of them, they move over to where Kelariis fell. Tritherion sort of kneels down, looks at Kelariis, who is basically just lying completely prone. And sort of just there's a somber moment for a second. He looks up at Sabriel and says, "We can fix this, but..." And then he looks upwards at the blackening sky and says, "Not without clearing this first." He turns to Arya as you approach and sort of says, "I take it you were successful then."
I was.
Good. And he gets up, raises the sword, the pillar of light that was providing protection vanishes, and he holds the sword up to the sky and then says, "Then hopefully this will work." It turns to Sabriel and says, "Sabriel, if you please." And Sabriel basically bursts into flame.
Casual.
And as Tritherion holds up the sword, Sabriel becomes a roaring pillar of flame, disappearing up into the sky. And the blackness begins to burn away to clear sky. The colour is restored to the world. And then, as the blackness burns away to nothing, there is a dull whoosh, and suddenly the roaring of flames in the distance can no longer be heard. Sabriel returns to the ground and says, "I think that's the last of it. I don't know what magic that was, but it was old." Tritherion nods and says, "I think I know where it came from, but that is a matter for later." He looks again at Sabriel says, "If you would do the honors." And she steps forward and casts Raise Dead. Kelariis, I need to borrow you.
Oh.
Okay.
Cutscene.
Okay. Let's stop that music and let's play. Go back to this one. So, from the moment you feel the fatal blow being struck, as you lay in your heroic moment, you feel the spirit leave your body, and you are for a moment observing the battle from the Nyxes, from a third person. The very air around you feels tainted, and it's almost like almost as if the darkness that is polluting the sky is crawling along your skin. But in that very moment, as you sort of feel this unpleasant sensation overtaking you, you feel a hand on your shoulder and you are yanked to a completely different place. You are standing in a cold stone room. Great arched ceiling, straddles above you. And as your vision comes into focus in the darkness, sitting in the faintest beam of pale blue light that you recognize as the light from the Shadowfell, sitting on a throne in a cloak of raven feathers is a figure that you have seen before. She leans forwards in the throne and says, "Well, here we are."
Where is this?
She sort of lowers her head for a moment and says, "You were in my domain. I know you were expecting to be somewhere else, but, well, let's just say I have been making efforts to change how things work around here. I have to admit, I was hoping to have this conversation under different circumstances. And I think I know what you're already going to say, but you're here to have a choice.
Can you answer me a question first?
We have time.
Did the others succeed? Or are they still fighting?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. What is it that you wanted from me, then?
I don't want anything from you. I'm offering you something. The chance to make your own fate. To no longer be at thrall to the gods and those who would play games with the spirits of mortals. You have a choice. You have the whole of eternity ahead of you. You can choose to return to Tritherion, to spend eternity in his realm, or you could be somewhere else. Here,
What do you mean?
Celestia, anywhere that you wish. You can even be returned to the Weave of Magic, if that is what you desire. The point is that I'm here to take away that choice from your deity, and to give it to you instead.
I appreciate that. Being offered the choice means a great deal. But I do think that my place is still to return to Tritherion.
She lets out a small sigh and says, I had a feeling that was what you were going to say. think had I been given more time, I may have had more opportunity to convince you. At this point, you feel a tugging sensation that is basically somebody is trying to revive you. And like the moment you feel this sort of sensation, and it's like whether you have the choice for a moment to give in to the pull or to prevent it. And the like the moment you feel the sensation, the Raven Queen's eyes snap up to you, and she says, "You don't have to answer that call."
I kind of just like close my eyes for a second, and then open them again to meet hers, and just say, "I know, but I will."
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess I will.
Okay. You give in.
Myself be pulled back. Yeah.
Okay. We'll go back.
Okay.
Oh, they're back.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. So Sabriel casts Raise Dead. Kelariis, you are brought back to life. And I need to check Raise Dead. Okay, you are returned to life with 1 hit point. Any mortal wounds are healed. You, however, are acutely aware that you have died.
Okay.
Oh no.
Cool.
You have a -4 penalty to all attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. And every time you take a long rest, the penalty is reduced by 1.
Okay.
Oh, good to
Yeah,
know.
she needs several days rest.
Where do I mark that? How do I mark that?
Add a resource?
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
We'll need some way of tracking the days, but I'm sure.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
well
And we can stop this creepy track and go back to...
Just gonna call it death penalty. Nope, that's not what I want to call it.
Death penalty.
No.
That's not what I wanted it.
Death
I'll just-
panel.
Revive penalty.
There we go, much better.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we
I'm
assumed.
assuming, I'm assuming Kelariis like sits up.
Yeah.
Because as soon as
Well,
she does,
actually, probably what happens is, Kelariis, you come to, and the first thing you are aware of is like Sabriel's hand on your shoulder, and then when you look up and look around, you see your companions around you, and then you see Tritherion, who is like kneeling down on one knee, and he just looks at you, smiles, and says in Celestial, "Take up your sword, champion. Your time is not done."
She understands Celestial?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Fuck.
Yeah. At which point, Elizabeth would probably see Kelariis sit up and just yell like Kelariis, and then she'd run over. Remember that Kelariis has just come back from the dead, is probably kind of in pain, and will just, instead of tackle hugging, just kneel down and hug more gently.
Yeah, I think maybe not to be dismissive of Elizabeth, but like kind of gives a sort of distracted return of a hug, but
Yeah.
is mostly like doing her best to pull herself back to her feet.
No,
Yeah.
she gets it.
It hurts. Everything hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Elizabeth will also try and help Kelariis stand up.
Do you let her?
Like,
I'm surprised
Well, no, it'll
Elizabeth
be
has
more
the
like if
energy.
Kelariis makes attempts to sit up, Elizabeth will help her.
I think I do it on my own.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like doesn't
Yeah,
push Elizabeth away, but
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, you hold up the hand, then stand up with like sword in hand.
yeah.
Tritherion just breaks into a broad grin at this.
Aw.
He, by the way, looks. Both he and Sabriel look absolutely freaking wrecked. Like, Tritherion is covered with like, the front side of his armor is just a blast mark.
Ugh, yeah.
Yeah.
His wings are like tainted with demon ichor, and the sword he holds in his hand is just like It's basically black from tip down.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah. Also, I just remembered there's someone I haven't dismissed yet.
yes.
I mean, I guess if there's a moment before he speaks again, like, I just kind of look up and just, did we do it?
He sort of turns to the rest of the group and says, "Your companions performed admirably, as did you."
Although we are going to have to figure out a better way to just having the Balors explode in our face.
Yeah, probably.
It's the second time today.
It's not the best.
No, it's really not.
We'll think of something.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
there
I
any
would
way I
like
can
to-
help Kelariis treat her wounds?
Yeah, you
I'm
you can
proficient.
you can begin to take a short rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send Scarlet skyward for a bit. Do like a circular patrol of the area, and then come back and
Well,
let me know if everything's okay.
I guess now that we've now that things have settled a little, what is next? Just looking at Tritherion.
He turns to you and says, "Well, I believe perhaps at least some of you have questions for me, and I owe a debt to all of you. Had you come even moments later, this battle could have been lost."
Well, it was a pleasure to fight alongside you both.
You certainly pulled your weight.
Um,
Why must you insult a god?
What? I said they did a good job.
Yeah.
In a slightly weird way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sabriel looks at you, just basically just again your shield is just caked in blast mark. You're drenched from head to toe in demon ichor, and your armor is covered in dents and dings, and there's occasional trickles of your own blood. And she just she assesses you and says, "Oh, yeah, because you've returned to normal size as well now." She sort of looks at you and says, "You know, I have never seen anyone, save perhaps one, fight with the same passion that you do."
Oh,
he fights well, but well, I suppose
and
I
he
kind of have the
speaks for
same
himself as well. But thanks for noticing. I try my best. But
Tritherion sort of nods and says, "And that is all we can ask of anyone."
yes. Well, fortunately, it's enough for now.
Is there more that needs to be done here?
Here, I expect there are still one or two fiends still wandering the forest, but given some time, I think Sabriel and I can handle this. The angels will return, and no, he wouldn't call them angels. I guess he would call them my subjects. Given time, my subjects will return, and with their strength, we will return this place. But the primary threat is gone. I feel, however, that our fight is moving elsewhere, and that you may need my strength more than I need it here.
Fortunately, we have yet to learn, well, really anything about our enemies. We know roughly who they are, but that's pretty much it. Well, and we know their goal, we think. But you wouldn't happen to know anything about this intrusion.
I know some things. I have my suspicions that the figure that you saw, the fellow on the palanquin, is likely their new leader.
I would agree.
I mean, yeah.
I have encountered him before, though in a different time and under different circumstances. He was once a great mage by the name of Azrael. But, like many great mages, he fell to the temptation of power.
Wait. Wouldn't happen to be Azrael Twisted now, would it?
That is not a moniker I've heard, but it would not surprise me if that was his new title.
Well, from what we heard, that was the name of a supposedly killed god.
Azrael? No, wasn't.
Wait, wasn't it?
No. Nerul
Oh.
was the dead god.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Azrael was the lieutenant, or the who the Supreme Witch thought was in command now. But yeah, he Tritherion takes a step backwards and sort of muses to himself for a moment and says, the power that they used here was able to stifle my strengths, even that which I draw from the domain itself.
You don't think that statue thing was the weapon the Supreme Witch mentioned?
If not, then at least a part.
Well, the way they treated it, I feel like it was more of a vessel of its power.
Yeah, they wouldn't have.
All I know is it was smothering me, almost. It was an antithesis to everything. I have not felt that sort of power since, well, the last time I fought. And he tails off at that point.
Oh.
Should we not tell the other gods that this kind of power is out there? Maybe they'd help us.
Tritherion sort of shakes his head and says, they have different ideas. He's looks down to you, Kelariis, and sort of says, I think this is tied to the questions which you no doubt have.
Probably, or it is likely, yeah. I don't know if it's my place to ask some of them, but
I think considering what you have done here today, you have every right to ask. and I will answer you honestly. But come, let us make this place more pleasant. And he raises his hand, this time without the sword, and like swirls it through the air, and the surroundings change, and the battlefield disappears. Leaving a now cleansed Nyxes. He moves back to the statue, places the sword at the foot of the statue, and kneels down on the gravel and sort of takes a seat. Sabriel sort of turns and says, with your blessing, I will rally the others. He nods and sort of says, go. With one last look to you, Kelariis, Sabriel smiles and says, I guess, how would you put this? Your sacrifice was admirable. I think in your shoes, I would have done the same. I hope you're not planning on taking my place.
Kelariis is
That's
probably
hilarious.
a little taken off guard by that, just because, because that's not what she was expecting. But no, I think that we both have different purposes that we fulfill. And thank you for bringing me back.
She bows her head and says, for saving us all, it is the least I could have done.
Kelariis probably like bows in return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She dismisses the flaming sword, her wings spread out, and she shoots off into the sky at 120 feet around.
Is that when she's not dashing? She's dashing.
That's when she's not dashing.
Wow.
She is fast. Yeah, I think she is faster than Tritherion.
Damn.
Oh no, sorry. Tritherion is 150.
All right.
Day
Sure.
fast.
Gods.
Yep.
God.
But yeah, Tritherion kneels in the sand and waits for the rest of you.
As in,
I mean,
are
is he
she
like?
supposed to come over?
So, yeah, is he like facing the statue?
No, he's essentially open forum for questions.
Oh.
He just cleaned up the mess and sat down so that he was comfortable because he gets the feeling he's going to be here a while.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
At least he's taking his time.
And Elizabeth's also gonna like just look to Grim and Kelariis and say, like, I think I'm gonna leave the questions to you guys.
Should be fine.
But also, yeah, Scarlet is very high up somewhere.
Okay.
She's like,
Oh
I
yeah.
just want Scarlet like flying around, scouting, looking for danger,
Okay.
and she'll.
Cool. She can keep an eye out.
Yeah.
I think the dire walls expire after a little time.
Yeah.
Just poof.
Poof.
Well, actually, they probably just slink off back into the forest because, yeah,
Oh yeah, I guess this
we
is...
we are in the Feywild, so.
Yeah,
Bye.
I will just like, we'll just sit like cross-legged, like here-ish.
Yeah, you all gather in front of Tritherion.
Yeah.
And he says, well, go right ahead.
Well, I believe you should start, Kelariis.
Jayla is not prepared for questions right
Well, we can. Like, I guess the question is: do we want to start with questions about us, questions about the greater, like, what our goals, or?
I mean, questions about the Dread Legion was probably a good idea.
Yeah, well, like, I guess there are some things that he might not be as appreciative of, but I guess as long as we ask nicely.
Maybe keep to the general questions to start.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So we're not diving straight in with the who the hell are the Dread Legion.
Oh no, okay, I was. See,
Yeah, I'm not about to start asking, like, is all of this origin story for the gods true? I'm not saying dive right in with that.
Okay, so what is the first question?
well, well, I guess since Kelariis doesn't really know yet, I guess I guess it's not really an important question, but I feel like we should. It might be good to know. Have we ever, like, I've always wondered, have we ever been on your radar? Because we work with Kelariis, of course.
He sort of smiles and says, I have been aware of your actions. That which I do not know through foresight, I know through what Kelariis has told me.
Of course. Well, it just like just looking over to Kelariis if she's ready or not. It's like,
I mean, I guess while we're still coming out of the battle, you mentioned that you're pretty sure that you knew the person in the palanquin, or had fought him before.
Not myself, but another champion.
I'm assuming
what
this.
happened?
Oh, yeah.
I know you've heard of a place called the Forbidden City. A long time ago, it went by a different name, though the name was spoken in an old tongue, a primordial tongue.
Oh. Elizabeth probably perks up, but doesn't manages to not just be like, I know that.
Yeah. He continues and says, when humanity was first given free will, some went to their own civilizations, some stayed with us, and others wandered the world. Azrael was one among them. He learned the arts of magic and travelled off. Went to the ancient city and became powerful. However, he ignored our warnings about the lust that comes with control. He sought to seize power. And whilst his little group became powerful, there were others who opposed him. A powerful group of mages who, at the peak of his power as he reached out to Tharizdun for strength using an artifact known as the Weeping Hexagram, they were able to seal him. But the time that was required to seal him was bought with the life of one of my champions.
And it seems that the seal was broken by someone or something.
Magic is fallible. Even my powers have limitations. And the combination of both external forces and no doubt internal efforts by Azrael weakened it. He was able to slip free before it could be restored. If I had to take a guess, I would say the power that he learned, combined with the hexagram, was able to bring him here. And no doubt was the fuel for this endless army that we fought.
Well, I guess considering that the magical lock has already been opened, which plane were they hidden on? Where did it originate?
I believe it was a pocket created by the mages, localized within a staff.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, Elizabeth looks to everyone else who she knows the story.
Only this.
Sorry, say that again, Minnie?
I said, man, if only this was easier.
If only this was
Right?
Hmm. Well, I guess we might as well ask some of the broad questions that we really want to know, but I'm not sure if you have an answer for as well.
If
As
I
well,
have, then I will tell you.
now that we learned, I think we can fairly safely say that Azrael is at least of some importance. Where would someone like that hide? Like, I imagine the Abyss. However, I can't imagine somebody sustaining themselves in the Abyss.
If Azrael achieved his goals, I do not believe he is a man anymore. It is possible that the Abyss is his hideaway. Wherever it is that he hides, I cannot see. It is hidden from my sight.
I assume the same goes for, well, their general forces of Dread Legion.
He sort of he nods sensibly and says, their forces are flexible. Whilst cults appear here and there, when one is broken, another may surface as a result. It is one of the advantages that Tharizdun has. His followers can always be replenished from those who have fears, those who seek solace in darkness, or who have lost what it is that makes them human.
Well, we did have, we have been thinking, and we were hoping to find a way to reduce or completely eliminate the influence of Tharizdun. However, beyond a lead that we might be able to get rid of him for good, like with all the consequences that might have, we have no clue where to begin. Like, besides just going for Dread Legion. Would you have any idea as to how we might be able to tighten Tharizdun's cell, or so it doesn't leak his power, or yes, something else?
Without knowing the precise nature of its creation, I cannot tell you.
Reason why I ask is because we came across a solution. Well, I say a solution. A lead to a solution that might have big ramifications. It was based on a rule. I don't know if you're familiar with Narul.
Tritherion sort of nods and says he existed. Well, he existed before the world you know it was quite the same.
Well, from what we can tell, Narul was disposed of. And, well, we came across a plot to use the same methods on Tharizdun. However, there are two problems we've run into. Well, first off, we're not quite sure of how. And then a second one that we haven't discussed in as much detail. We have no clue what would happen. What happens if a god falls? Because I can't imagine that, would go unnoticed, or more importantly, that just the knowledge that it can be done will be brought back into the world and might put a target on some other people like yourself. Although I feel like the Dread Legion has already figured out a potential way.
So it would seem. Had you asked me any day before this, I would have told you, as long as a god has believers, there is no hope of destroying them. But as it has been proven today, that does not seem to be true.
guessing that means that you're not familiar with any of the strategies of that were used on Nerul, nor used on yourself.
He shakes his head and says, I have felt magic like it before, but I'm not familiar.
And about the, well, removal of a, well, god, would you have even the slightest idea of the ramifications? Or would you, well, have a way of suggesting other, like, or otherwise, or just would you dismiss it entirely, perhaps?
He pauses for a moment and then says, the ramifications of dethroning someone such as myself. Truth be told, I do not know how mortals such as yourselves would do it and survive. Whilst we are material in some sense, we are as much constructs of philosophy as much as anything else. We are divine energy made form. What would happen to all that power were it disbanded? I could not say. But if it has been done, then there must be a way.
But it sounds that you're not gonna have any moral input on this one. Or, like, if you wish not to morally, share your opinion, that is for you to decide.
I think at this point he turns to Kelariis and says, what do you make of this choice?
What do I make of it?
Yes. I have been asked my opinion on whether or not slaying one of my brothers is the correct choice. I do not have an answer. I cannot have an answer. I have had this failing before. And perhaps you can help me make that decision.
I do not know if I would call it a failing in my eyes, or from my perspective, because not making a choice is a choice in and of itself. And to be put in that sort of position, especially in this case, is a heavy weight. It feels like it would be the easier answer to make our goal to put a permanent end to a god that has caused so much trouble, but something about it doesn't sit quite right, and it feels like it's opening up a door for more issues in the future, but I don't have a better solution.
He nods and says, "Perhaps this is not a decision to make today. Perhaps this is a decision to make when and if the time comes."
Oh, let's hope that time never comes. That said,
Well,
this does make me wonder what good Ferrous does for the world. Perhaps we'll never know.
A long time ago, I would have said a great deal. But he has changed. And he sort of like turns back to Kelariis. Whilst you may not see it as a failing, I am partially responsible for what happened.
We were told a little, I think, of what happened, but I think Kelariis like kind of looks a little to the others for a second, before looking back to Tritherion and just says, "Perhaps not now, but I think I'd like to hear more of it from your side, if you'd be willing."
That is up to you. I will tell you my side, whether it is now or another time. I owe you that much, at least.
I guess one of the things that we did learn is like the most likely source of our answers, which might include this suppression magic, which perhaps, now that I think about it, if we could apply that to Ferrous, we might not have to, might reduce his influence without causing too much harm, though I can't imagine what it felt like. But yes, what we would have to, like, we were told that answers lie with the, or potential answers lie with the Raven Queen.
What do you mean by that?
Well, remember what she, what the Supreme Witch said.
Except Kelariis wasn't there.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
The answer to that is no.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
My bad.
The Supreme
read-
Witch may have tried to, one last time, convince us to join them on their stratagem, and the Raven Queen was mentioned.
However, well, I think it's safe to say that we don't know a whole lot about the Raven Queen. Actually, maybe I should actually do a roll to see what I do know, so that I don't have to ask like the most basic of questions. What do we know about the Raven Queen?
What do you know about the Raven Queen?
Yes.
As far as you know, you met her in passing, and she and V had a conversation about some mysterious things. Okay, Luka, we'll deal with that in a second. Yeah, you know actually very little about her, other than she resides in the Shadowfell, guiding souls, or at least that's what she told you.
I'm not really sure where I was going with this. Well, I guess I was asking, would you? I guess it's another long shot, but you wouldn't happen to know where we could find her beyond, like in the Shadowfell. Or perhaps there's a better way to contact her.
He sort of, Tritherion sort of shakes his head and says, Gods tend to be secretive about their location of their domain, at least to a precise level. Save to those that they trust. My advice would be to find someone who has encountered her or follows her. My understanding of her is that she has recently been tampering in some affairs. I'm not sure what her end goal is, but I have come across some who have encountered her.
I don't know what her intentions were, but I spoke with her briefly, and she gave me a choice to, well, to return to you, looking at Tritherion, or to go elsewhere, but I don't quite understand how maybe she factors into what the Supreme Witch was saying.
Tritherion looks at you sort of quizzically and says, "When?"
Kelariis just kind of like gestures to where she had been when.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he sort of looks at that and says, "I was not even aware."
It was brief. She told me that she stepped in to give me the choice instead of... I think the way she worded it was leaving it up to your god. But I knew what my answer was as soon as she offered me the choice, and I would have come back here one way or another.
Well, for that I'm honoured.
It feels the place that I am meant to be, even if I'm not here physically. Or in this same body, I guess is probably the better way to word that.
Yeah. He sort of bows his head and says, "I think perhaps then maybe that is her endgame."
What do you mean?
The power of a soul. She does not have a following. At least not so much as, say, I once did, or Torm or Paylord do now. My powers are weak. I have spent a long time in isolation, and my following has grown small. But even the devout give me strength enough. But imagine not instead having the devout following of a few, but the strength of conviction of 10, 100, 1,000 souls. By giving them a choice, they believe in her. They would sustain her by being free. He almost seems to be lost in thought as he muses through these last few points.
So that would, in theory, make her stronger?
Power through a lie. But a lie with noble intent.
Can be a bit risky.
She would need a great deal of power to enforce that, though. she would not be able to do it alone. She would need help.
Guess that kind of well, it gives us a lot clearer of the next source of information, perhaps.
I think I agree. I think you should find, if not her, then somebody who knows her and understand her intentions. Believe it or not, her goals and yours may not be so far unaligned, though I would be careful. Everything she will do will be for her own gain.
We'll have to be vigilant. Or well, stay sharp, unfortunately. Else.
I feel like we've had a lot of experience with people who are in it for their own gain recently.
I feel like some of these are just misguided. Like, they try to be misguided but noble to some degree. Like, I don't feel like we could truly consider the Cabal to be pure evil.
I think misguided with intent can be used to describe many of us.
Fortunately.
He turns to Kelariis and says, "You have met Velt. Could not the same be said of him? Valor and zeal is all well and good, but without a kindly hand, it is dangerous."
That is true.
I should probably just think, have you forgotten anything of importance?
Well, if I may return to an earlier topic, this prison of Thara's Dunes, how was it even formed? How would we go about learning how it was made so that we could, if we did decide to strengthen it?
It was crafted by Sabero and the Demon Lords, with a little help from Bane and Vecna, but I do not know any of the details beyond that. I had no part in it. It was perhaps a necessary evil, but had I had a say in the matter, it is not the manner of which I would have chosen.
What would you have chosen?
He looks you like straight in the eyes and says, "In all honesty, I would have allowed Tharizdun to seek either his own destruction or continue to stop his goals until he learned, even if I had to do that for eternity." You must understand, Tharizdun's intent was good. He wished only to save our people from destruction. But the methods he was willing to use to do that were unacceptable.
Yes. does bring me to one slightly more, I guess, practical question. Considering, like the more I hear, the more I feel like a lot is going on in the abyss. However, I know I don't think any of us know what to expect in the abyss. Like the Shadowfell, like when you travel there, you feel like, well, you feel it instantly. Even this place feels a little different, but not necessarily in a bad way.
Well, even this place has its pitfalls. I think were you to go there at the blessing of one of its denizens, then you would feel its side effects less, but I do not recommend that under any circumstance. The bargain you would have to strike with them would be... you would not come back from it.
No, that's completely off the table.
Oh. Let's hope that it stays off the table at least. Yes.
Well, we are able to get there of our own accord. It's just we
yeah.
don't know what would happen if we went there.
There are those who have been and who have survived the ordeal. I would find out what they know.
Sounds like
Do you
Do
know
you-
who any of them are or where they are?
Those I know whose journeys were known to me have long passed, but it is possible that their knowledge is passed on. There are also some sorcerers who dabble in darkness.
what if? I think I have an idea how we might be able to do a relatively safe test run. However, well, of course not involving. But that is for when we get back.
Well, you know my domain now. If you feel the need to return here at any time, then I will give you leave to do so.
Do you know the names of those who've been to the abyss?
I will provide you with what knowledge that I know. I, the GM, do not have those to hand.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know that even the gods aren't omniscient. Well,
Hopefully there's at least one name I might recognize.
however, for now, I will share with you what I'm thinking. I'm kind of hoping that maybe, considering the relative success of Zeal's experiment, perhaps we could attune it to a different plane if you, with the help of our tuning fork.
You're suggesting we simulate the abyss?
That is roughly what I'm suggesting, but that we'll figure the details once we get back. I feel like we are kind of beyond the mystery that is you yourself, Tritherion, I think I don't know how the others feel. I feel like we've got a good idea of how to proceed now.
Elizabeth just nods.
We definitely have more information than we did before.
Much more.
He rises up to his feet, turns to you, Kelariis, and says, I know there are still some things that are unsaid. If you wish, we can say them in private. But before you all go, I owe you all a boon. Think upon it, and ask of me what you will, and I will fulfill it to the best of my ability. He turns to you, back to you, Kelariis, and says, to you, I know what it is that you desire. I know what it is that you will need. And he draws his own copy of your sword, and holds it up, and it illuminates with light until it begins to melt down and collapse in on itself, until it is but a droplet of light in his hand. And he says, hold out your sword.
I will do as he asks.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably presenting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He holds out the drop of light and allows it to fall. At which point the light infuses throughout the sword, up Kelariis' arms until it she is engulfed in a radiance. Kelariis, you hear a small voice in the back of your head that you heard when you picked up Crelestro. Except it reverberates in 3 tones now. And it sort of says in a relieved tone, it says, reunited at last. It is good to see one another in the light again. Whenever you have need of us, Kelariis, we are here. And then the radiance fades, and Tritherion is left swordless. And he smiles and says, I always knew somehow you would be the one worthy to carry my gifts. I know your friend V did not understand why I put you through what I put you through, but I hope you do.
I think I do.
That is good. And I will give you the stat sheets for the reunified artifacts as I remove the old ones.
Who's ready to see these longer names that we were promised?
Yeah.
Right. How long will they be? Place your bets now, everybody.
I don't think they'll be as long as Grimm's.
If any of
not
them are
quite.
longer than Grimm's name.
This is fine.
I don't think that's our metric for how long names are, though. Is it
Long as
longer or
Grimm's.
shorter than Grimm's full name?
It's not
Well, even
quite
that,
nomish.
Well, the Red King's Treachery is also a pretty long name, I'd say.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
wow.
it's up
Oh,
there.
well.
Yeah. Look at that.
Oops.
The Band of Retribution, holy icon of justice. That's pretty long.
I think it's about on par.
It's a pretty long one.
There we go.
Oh,
Avenging flame of Tritherion.
that's also pretty long. In fact, it's so long that it goes underneath the little search bar button.
It does.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, it's
So
not
yes.
search bar, it's magnifying glass, my bad.
So you have Calestro, Harbinger of Doom, Baton of Retribution, Holy Icon of Tritherion, and Freedom's Tongue, Avenging Flame of Tritherion.
Unlimited mind invasion. Can't believe.
I love how you've given them lore entries.
Yes, they all had lore entries anyway.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
know,
they all
but
did.
like,
they did.
yeah.
Well,
But yeah, if you read the Baton of Retribution, you now have your own Well of Radiance.
Nice.
Oh shit. Hell yeah.
Oh, well, you know how you were talking about the DC going up?
Oh yeah, I didn't even
Yeah.
even get to the DC yet.
Oh, DC 17.
Nice.
That being said, I am gonna have to dip, so
Yep, okay.
Okay.
Well, think
Good
about the
call.
boon that you want.
I will think about it. I have a pretty good idea.
And what kind of
Magic
bow?
bow!
And what kind of bow
Magic
do you
bow?
want?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
Oh.
gonna be a magic bow. So
quiver of infinite magic arrows.
infinite arrow. Oh, just magical damage actually would be nice. And I don't really care about infinite arrows.
No, but like as I said, infinite magic arrows because like man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause that's
In other
just
Now
words,
we're
a magic
thinking.
bow.
Maybe like a magical quiver. That would be as
Honestly.
good as a magical bow.
Yeah.
honestly, I'd just be happy if you got a laser bow. You know, just
A laser bow.
well, you know,
Wow.
there's always like those bows that you just like pull and then suddenly the arrow appears.
Yeah.
Li-
Oh,
literally become
yeah.
Huntress
That would be
from Risk of
dope.
Rain.
Oh, that's so cool.
Ah. No,
Those
I
are
want
the best.
that bow.
Yeah, you should get that. There you go. That's your boon.
That's what I want.
A bow that doesn't need arrows.
Yep.
Those are the best.
That would be
Yeah.
dope.
Those are pretty cool.
That would be
Alright.
pretty amazing.
Well.
Or how about a bow that's also a melee weapon?
I mean, a bow is a
Bow
melee
that's
weapon if you
also a sword.
try.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bow, and then you can magically
Look.
split it apart into like two swords. You can be
A
like, what?
bow is a melee weapon if you try hard enough. You just hit
It's
them
true.
over.
Yeah.
Or
The
if you
magical bow
unstring
of
it, you
clubbing.
can use it as a staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Whack people.
Anything is a melee weapon if you try hard enough. Lord
Exactly.
Shax.
Yep. Yep.
You know that's
Oh,
true
well.
though.
It's literally written into the rules.
Oh yeah.
Improvised weapon 1d4.
But yeah. See you later, Luka.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, and I guess on that note, we will call it a night.
Yes.
So I'll do experience and stuff after we leave. So
Yeah.
all that remains is thank you all for watching, thank you all for playing, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.